Welcome to Popular Pixel. In this video, we're going to take a look at the Polymega EM01, also known as the NES Module. This module allows you to play both NES as well as Famicom games so long as you have an adapter. Before we get started today, I just want you to go down into the comments and I want you to post what your favorite NES game is. And of course, if you're new to the NES, post something that you found recently that really speaks to you. To begin, you'll need to remove the Polymega's dust cover and then insert your module into the Polymega by sliding it into place. Then you'll be ready to put a cartridge into the slot and begin playing your game. Or you can install it to one of the available memory slots, that being the onboard storage, the SSD, or SD card, depending on what you have installed on your Polymega. As you can see, installing the cartridge is a snap, and it happens instantaneously. Your biggest hurdle in doing this will be the years of grime that is built up on the cartridges. The Polymega seems to be very picky when it comes to being able to read your cards properly, and sometimes the system will report that an NES game is inserted, but it can't fully read the ROM data. Other times the game will come up just fine and you're ready to rock. So be sure you have some isopropyl alcohol available and some Q-tips. Speaking of cartridges, the card slot seems to be very tight. Not so much that you'll feel like you're going to damage something, but it's nice and tight to grip the cards and to make a good connection to the system. But whether you choose to play the game by reading it directly off the cartridge or using the onboard memory, the Polymega seems to have an accurate emulation for the NES. I've been putting this module through the ringer over the last couple of days and have found very little to complain about. Every time it seems to be running at 60 frames per second. I don't notice any tearing or shimmering, and the colors seem to be flawless. The only thing that I have noticed graphically are when small pixels are close together, it leaves this odd effect on the screen. Now, I've only noticed it so far in RC Pro-Am, but this really does not pick up well on the recording, so you may not quite even notice it here. But this effect, it's probably always been there, but when you play the game on a CRT and use connectors like RF or through the AV port, it's probably something that you're just not noticing. But this is definitely something that I can live with rather than using any sort of filtering that the Polymega has to offer. The next topic that I do want to bring up is the sound emulation. But of course, there's really no need to have a long discussion here because it seems spot on. I have not come across any odd sounds, any clicks or beeps, those sorts of things that are not supposed to be there. So the sound is great. Of course, one of the first things you're probably going to want to do once you receive your Polymega is install lots of software. And while you're installing software, you're probably also going to want to play some games. Some of these disc games can take a while to install, especially if the system is having a hard time reading those older discs. But this is really not a problem. It's easy to be able to juggle the install as well as being able to play your games. You simply make a state save, you exit the game, you swap disks, and you begin installing. Then you go back and you load that state save and you're ready to rock and roll. Very seamless. And now to talk about the things that are not so great about this module. First of all, the controller. I absolutely love the feel of this controller and the button layout aside from the placement of the start and select buttons. There have been many times that I have hit the menu button when I was trying to press start. Now, this is something that I could probably adjust to. Even in the last few hours, I've started noticing my thumb is getting used to going higher on the controller. But even with that minor gripe, there's something else far worse, and that is the D-pad. Again, it feels great, it seems to work well with many games, but the main problem is on games like Zelda. Quite often, I found myself not being able to control Link the way I should, or with the accuracy that you need in instances like with the Dragnuts here. To get through an onslaught like this, you need accuracy. But the awesome thing about the modules on the Polymega is that you have the option of plugging in old controllers. And once I did that, I could clearly feel the difference between the two controllers. Now, aside from those two gripes, I'd say that the build quality of this controller is great, and the braided cord really attests to that, as well as the Velcro cord management. I do find myself wanting to use this controller more and more. Just on certain games, again, like with the example of Zelda, it's just probably not going to happen. So, what are my overall thoughts? I love it. Obviously, this module is nothing without the Polymega, so this is really a huge reflection on the console itself, but I am a fan of the NES. At one point, I owned over 500 cards, but of course, now I'm building my collection back up because of the Polymega. Eventually, Play Module will have an online shop where you can buy games directly from them, and this is going to be a great option, especially for those games that you just can't find in retro shops, like this one, Doodle World. The Polymega comes with a demo of this game, and it's a very cutesy platformer that was built using the NES Maker software, but it is definitely worth checking out. Well, thank you for dropping on by and checking out my review of the EM01 for the Polymega. If you haven't yet subscribed to my videos, please do so. And remember, until next time, keep on gaming, you guys. Take care.